All right, good morning if you're on the West Coast, and happy lunchtime if you're on the East Coast. Today we are on early. We are here to celebrate with our East Coast friends in the autoimmune community to celebrate the second day of the Sisterhood of Limitless Living anniversary celebration. And so we've got some wonderful speakers today. Really quickly, I just wanted to give special thanks out there to FemX Quarters, who we are in partnership with. They are my co-working space. I love them. And they're a wonderful community for co-working businesses. Currently, they're working remotely. If you want to join FemX Quarters in the mornings at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, they're doing some talks, some networking events. And then also, they're doing these co-working online remote services. So join FemX Quarters. Also wanted to talk about Cold Tech. They're doing some really great new technologies with their cold towels, their cold scarves, and also for migraine support. So we're going to be sharing a promotion with Cold Tech in the coming days as well. So just special thanks. And then also wanted to talk about one of my favorite ladies in the autoimmune space. She has an upcoming episode. We do have someone called, her name is Noelle, and she's going to be sharing in the following podcast after our celebration. She has a podcast called the Beyond Unstoppable podcast, and I highly suggest that you listen in. It's not specific to the autoimmune community, but she is a supporter of our celebration today, and she talks about how you can live boldly and to get through challenges. So recommending and suggesting and celebrating the Beyond Unstoppable podcast as well. So today we have a wonderful guest this morning, and we are going to be speaking to Zaakirah Mohammed. She is our second episode of the Sisterhood of Limitless Living podcast. She was my very first speaker, my very first interviewee. She has been so wonderful and so supportive from the very beginning, when I didn't even know how to do a podcast. And I don't know if I share this enough, but the first time I decided to, the idea of podcasting occurred in my mind, and I was really scared. But the first time I decided to podcast was because I was watching Little Women of Atlanta. And I don't share that enough, but Little Women of Atlanta was like my favorite show because of its diversity. All the other Little Women shows are not as diverse. I don't know, they don't stand out to me. I love the twins. I just love all the characters of the Little Women of Atlanta. And when one of them started podcasting, I was like, that's it. Now I feel inspired and energized. I want to start my own podcast. And along that journey, I met Zaakirah. Zaakirah, we met through one of the Facebook groups on
She Podcast.
She Podcast. I love She Podcast. And Zaakirah has been so supportive in helping me through this journey. Today, she helped us figure out this technology because we could not get the echoes to stop yesterday as we tried to simultaneously Zoom and Instagram Live. Today, we've got this together. Thank you, Zaakirah. Basically turning down the phone. Who knew?
Right. Yeah, that's what happened. It's like you don't really realize it's like all these other devices and all this technology, and sometimes it's simple. It's not so simple, but sometimes it's simple. So that's all right.
I thought I was being clever, but I just didn't get the echo part figured out. But but now we've got it, thanks to Zaakirah. So she's been such wonderful support throughout this podcast journey, and her story is also very inspiring. And you will hear the theme throughout the day. We're going to be talking about how all of us in the autoimmune journey have begun building our dreams. You know, as this autoimmune disease experience has been a wake-up call in many ways. It's been that push to get us to like get out of a situation that we don't enjoy working with all day, every day. So today I want to introduce you to Zaakirah Mohammed, and welcome. Welcome, Zaakirah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be back.
Thank you so much. Introduce yourself. Tell us about what you've been up to. Tell us what you've been doing lately.
Okay. So I think we talked about a year ago, and I'm all for supporting other women. I'm all for supporting other podcasts because it's not an easy journey at all. And I think I was literally just starting my podcast as well. I started a podcast called Living Legacy, officially March of 2019. And ironically, I'm a photographer first. So I had this idea in like 2017, 16. and I started as a video series because I had a video, and because I have experience in like the entertainment industry, I was like, let me see what I can do with utilizing, my connect in the industry to kind of shine a positive light on the music industry. But then as that went on, I would the more I interview people, the more I share my story. People are like, oh, I didn't know this about you. I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you had PCOS. I didn't know, all of this stuff. So then I'm like, okay, let me share my own podcast and share my own story. So I'm actually now, I kind of break it up almost into TV seasons. So I'm actually now in season 3 of the podcast, but I've started including other people. Of course, it's been a lot had going on behind the scenes, in the past year. So it's actually been a healing process for myself as well to have guests on the podcast that talk about autoimmune health, that talk about uh, childhood trauma, that talk about holistic nutrition, and how to change and pivot and adapt and just prioritize self-care, because self-care is not selfish, especially right now. So that's the biggest thing that kind of kept me going, the podcast. And then I might still photograph here and there. I think I was living in the Nashville area at that time, but I'm
Yes.
now in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
And what else have I been up to? So obviously I'm not working as much, but at least the good thing is that I'm working on my purpose, I would say. As of right now, I'm literally working on my purpose of I think it's been narrowed down to inspiring or empowering women
Mm-hmm.
or others to really step outside of their comfort zone and see themselves in a different light, see themselves in a more positive light, in a different lens.
A different
And
lens.
also, I actually released a book. Also, I released it officially in December, but I think I didn't mention it in our conversation because I was still editing it, still putting it together. But my mom and I wrote a book called Seeing Life Through a Different Lens, Survivor's Memoir on Overcoming Adversity with Resilience. So first, I'm a childhood cancer survivor of retinoblastoma, which is cancer of the eye. So believe it or not, I have the photographer's eye. So I've seen you in one eye, right? So the PCOS for me was actually a secondary um, cancer, and that's what's told by our doctors that you can, it's possible, because I got radiation as a result of trying to remove the cancer when I was about 9 months old. And so that radiation then led to a mild hearing loss. So I can hear you just fine because I have amazing technology, amazing audiologists, amazing hearing aids, but some others were not so fortunate. Some have literally just have 4 senses instead of the full 5, at this point. So yeah, so that book is literally my mom and I sharing perspective on what it was like living up to now, because the statistics, at least then, were that I'm not, as probably most likely would not have survived past 5 years old, right? But the thing I also think that I've also attested to is holistic health. Like I've literally been using these last few months, well, technically the last few years, I've really been utilizing almost. I'm a flexitarian. That's what they call it. Not a vegetarian, not a vegan, a flexitarian, right? So 95% I'm like fruits and veggies and no dairy and no gluten, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes sometimes I have a little bit of chicken. Sometimes I have a little bit of turkey. But yeah, that's me. I had a conversation. I've been catching up with family too, and I had a conversation with my aunt who recently had a birthday, and I don't normally wear makeup. Like if I have if we go back to in-person speaking events, probably. But I said hi to her on video, and she was like, "Oh, you're glowing. Are you wearing makeup?" And I'm like, "No, I'm literally stress free. I'm eating healthy. I'm living my purpose. That's what this makeup is." So
Yes, it's the best makeup.
absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us how you've been doing health-wise. I'm so glad to hear you're experiencing a new life, a life change. You're living your purpose. You're glowing. Tell us about PCOS, PCOS, how that journey's been doing. How have you been feeling physically with autoimmune living?
Yeah. Well, I think I've always been, I have always been the type who has been health conscious. I've always been the type who has been in tune to my health. So, um, I mean, so far so good. I mean, the fact that I'm eating healthy, I definitely know that I feel better. But I will admit that my menstrual cycles, maybe TMI for some, but menstrual cycles are not regular yet. But that's okay because I know uh, I think I kind of know that about my body at this point. Like it until I probably may eventually need medicated help, when time comes. But other than that, naturally I just feel good. I mean, there's a thing also of like maybe TMI again. How many of you actually have a bowel movement every day, right? Like
Everyone has one,
should, right? But
or
not everyone
hopefully,
does.
hopefully, yeah.
So yeah. So that's the other thing, just making sure that the insides are looking good, and then it'll radiate from the outside, and then I'm able to at least get more sleep because I'm not working 2.5 jobs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you've told us about your book, living, is it living through a
So
different
seeing life,
lens? Living
seeing,
life, seeing life.
yeah, seeing life through a different lens is the name of the book. Living Legacy is the name of the podcast. So
Right.
yeah.
Got it. Living
And you were a
legacy.
guest on my podcast. Yeah,
I've
you
been a
became a
guest
guest
on the
on my podcast.
podcast.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Well,
Love it.
that was almost around the same time. I think maybe a couple of weeks after. Um, what was first? I was on yours, and then I'm like, you should come
Yes.
on mine.
Yes. Yes. You invited me.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we talked about. I love that conversation because we've literally talked about how all the immune disorders really can be genetically tied to
Hmm.
so many factors,
So
and
many factors.
literally all my siblings have something, so
Different autoimmune
yeah,
conditions. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there's so many factors involved. All right. So you've told us about your book, you've told us about your podcast. Now tell us a little bit about the business, how you've been working in your purpose in terms of the podcast, writing this book, telling these stories of these beautiful, inspiring stories that are there out there to help other people who are struggling. I I just again I remember in our podcast I commended you, and like I just give you special gratitude because of the fact you are a cancer survivor. You are getting through PCOS, and you're here, you're living through your purpose, you're glowing, and it's okay. We're getting through this. We're gonna do this. And so I give you special gratitude. Tell us about how been building your business into your purpose, stepping in your
Well,
purpose.
yeah, it's been an amazing journey. I'll say that. It's not been perfect, has not been perfect. I'll say that also, but it's been an amazing journey because I feel like a lot of it really stemmed from the healing that came out of finally writing the memoir. Because the thing about memoir, the difference between
Hmm.
um, I guess the difference between like more medical related book versus memoirs versus self-guide help books,
Mm-hmm.
you're literally sharing a piece of you, right? So I feel like when my mom and I both finally got that out of our system because it's been in our heads on our computers and then finally into our hands in a book. I should have put my book out here, but anyway, um, into a book, then that really opened up a bunch of doors. I was more comfortable with public speaking about PCOS, about mental health, about nutrition. And so that kind of again, it's gain more clarity, help me to gain more clarity because I feel like you naturally know your purpose. Um, you've started living it around 7 or 8 years old, right? So if you were left unattended, right? What could you do hours on end? And for me,
Yeah.
I was either always photographing, I was always writing, I was like the mini therapist for my middle school friends. So
Aw.
that it's always been there. So it's just a matter of tapping into that and unlocking it, really. So the moment the book was finally published, I unlocked it. Oh, I edited my own audiobook for it.
Yes,
So
I heard. It's
that
awesome.
was that was see the thing, it's all intertwined for me because again, I started out as a photographer. I'm used to editing photos. Then I learned how to edit videos. And then when I started my podcast, the difference is remove the video, it's just editing audio. When you edit the audiobook, just learn the technical aspect that you do with podcasting, and it's the audiobook, right? So for me, that's fun stuff because I love technology. I love learning on my own. I love creative, anything, just being creative. So I think it's just been a matter of tapping into and being in tune to my purpose. So.
Love it. So tell us about your business, and you're going to be offering a freebie to our community as well.
Yes, yes. So I am a brand cultivating strategist. So what that means is I help you as a small business owner, entrepreneur, to really look aesthetically appealing on social media, but also know what you want to do and sell. Because most of the time, people have those ideas, and you know how to use social media, but you're not using it for your own business benefit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So uh, I'm a brand cultivating strategist, but I also have just individually, I kind of will consult or coach. Most of the time, the people that come to me, they know about social media, they know how to use it. They're just not sure if they're using it the right way. So that's what I do. But then there's also a digital marketing agency, which I actually kind of officially started in 2018, but because life has happened, I never really was consistent enough with it. So the marketing agency then we're entirely a woman-owned agency, but we are all in one of all of your digital branding and marketing needs. So if you use social media right now, but it takes up too much time, you'd rather focus on creating content, you'd rather focus on talking to people, that's where we come in and kind of take that headache out of it, because social media is the new age newspaper. So it's important to really be out there anyways, especially since
Mm-hmm.
more people are using it.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, if you just need design help, we do that too. So that's Focus Media Group, and that's mainly what I've been focusing on. So it's going to eventually be just literally an all-in-one media company. I may eventually start helping other authors. I may eventually, help other podcasters. So yeah, that's Focus Media Group. That's what I've been focused on,
Mm-hmm.
at least in the last couple of months. But yeah, I think that's mainly what I do. Photography comes in sometime, but for the most part, at least right now, the way I've kind of shifted that is either educating on photography, like if you have a camera but you don't know how to use it, I can show you how to. Or if you're just not sure what the best images are, you took photos, you want to make sure that you're taking them right, or you want to make sure that you choose the right photo. So that's also what I do. And so for me, it works out for my health because I can still maintain the schedule. If it's a
Mm-hmm.
day that I feel like sleeping in, I'll sleep in, but it doesn't affect the schedule because, everybody's on different time zones, So yeah, that's what I do work-wise.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah. So, as we live with these autoimmune conditions, I think we'll be speaking to people throughout the day today who are learning how to schedule their own business. Like they've started their own business, they're working in something they enjoy, and they're able to, navigate that while getting the rest that they need, getting the doctor's appointments and doing all the things they need to do as autoimmune survivors and thrivers, while still being able to build their own business. This is the power of being able to learn through this autoimmune journey. So many of us are often triggered by stress. When we think about the autoimmune response, the flare-ups, the relapses often are so associated with stress. And not to say that business is not stressful, it has its own things, but at least you are in control. And so when we're working full time, other people are in control of our energy, our schedule, our time. And so I think this is going to be, something that's an important theme throughout this conversation today. Um, how we're able to take these rests that we need when we're building our own businesses and design it so that we enjoy what we're doing and live in our purpose. It's so much fun.
Absolutely, yeah. Mental health is so important, and I think most people now are realizing and understanding that. Now, I loved the companies that I work for. Like
Yeah.
if I sometimes I can say it, but most of the time, if I just showed it, like today's not my day, there's no pressure. There's no, I need you to be this. I need you to do that. And so, like, I love that about my job that I work for. But at the same time, it's like I'm also less tired in the day because I'm not using my brain as much. But I mean, there's a difference between you work in the sense of um, using your brain for mindless stuff, using the brain for stuff that requires you to think, mindless activity versus mindful activities, right? When you fulfill your purpose, it's not as tiring, it's more exciting. So that, of course, goes a long way with mental health, with autoimmune health as well. Just making sure how fulfilled are you, like, and just being able to pay attention to yourself. Like, there have been days I feel like my body still operates on like a 5-day work schedule, anyways. Of like, even if it's not Saturday or Sunday where I actually take off, there's 2 days in a week where I'm just like, I'm just gonna binge watch. I'm just gonna sleep in. I'm just gonna, I can't today. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for me, like I work maybe almost every day of the week, for different things. Like Saturdays, Sundays tend to be my podcast days, editing podcasts. And then the rest of the week, it's like just, getting through all my other work activities. But yeah, being able to take those naps when I need to. Last night I went to sleep at 8 p.m., So yeah, just managing in that way. Yeah. So tell us about the freebie that you're going to be able to share with the community today.
Yes. So it's interesting because now the conversations that I've had with other podcasters, with friends and family is, how can I strengthen my immune system right now? Right.
Yeah.
So honestly, the simplest yet best way that you can do that is by feeding yourself the things that are good for you than the things that are not so good for you, right? So I literally created a guide. I'm a visual person, right? So I know a lot of people are visual learners. So I literally created a guide with um, showing the brands and showing the whys and the hows of what I've been eating, basically. What have I been eating? Why am I glowing? Why do I look so good? So I created a guide that has all the brands of um, dairy-free, natural, organic, gluten-free brand that I use. So it's a short guide, but I feel like it'll be very helpful because some people, are probably literally like, I've been trying to, I want to, eat more fruits and vegetable, but I don't know where to start. Or I want to have less dairy, but all I know is XYZ. So that this guide is for you if you want to just have something to easily refer to, print it out, put it on your phone, whatever you need to do to say, okay, next time I go grocery shopping, how can I choose more berries and less ice cream? Or how can I choose more of like nut milk rather than cow's milk? So just options of that way. So if you go to zakirah.com and then sign up for my email list, that is how you'll be able to get it as a part of your welcome email. And then of course, I'm not a spammer. I personally don't I'm if you wanted to get in touch with me after, like, if you love the document so much, you can send me a DM, right? I'm quicker that way. So I'm definitely, the email that I send to you are just to make sure that you get the information that you need, that you may not know that you need. And we just go from there. So I'm just here to help people live their best life as well. So.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah, zakirahnayar.com, and the freebie will be available on the website. So thank you so much, Zaakirah. Yeah, so can you give us some tips out there? I know at the end of a lot of my podcast episodes, I tend to do this a lot. What are some tips that you can give people who are struggling through the autoimmune journey? What are some tips that you would give to people at this time, especially with the pandemic, all the stuff that's going on? We're limited to our schedule and our activities out there. The mental health challenge of learning how to deal with an international pandemic, all of it. What advice and tips would you offer out there at this time?
I'd say definitely utilize the options that are out there right now. There's so many podcasts, your podcast, my podcast. There's so many podcasts out there that are literally having the conversation. So find the one that you feel you connect with. Go to YouTube University and figure out how you can best help yourself and your friends and your family in this time. And just listen to yourself. I mean, sometimes we're so used to working so much that our body has to tell us, I don't want to do this today. They will literally
Yeah.
shut you down. So just, listen to yourself before it gets to be too much. And that's, again, self-care is not selfish. So do what you need to do. If you love to journal or write and just need to write your thoughts out, do that. If you love 90s, 2000s, 80s, 70s music, listen to that. If you can, just go outside and take a walk around your house, go to your back garden if you have one. Just do what you need to do to kind of be in tune to yourself. 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's all it takes.
Yeah, such a good time to get that self-care. It's almost like the world told us this is the time to get that self-care. Take the time off. Take the time off. Get the rest, get the nature, learn a new skill, learn some new hobbies, invest in your self-care, invest in your skills.
Perfect. Yeah. And look at that. We getting a lot of people. Hey, how about community? We mentioned community too, right?
Yeah.
People from all over the world, just everybody's going through the same thing. Literally. I think that's the good thing in a way right now. Of like everybody literally going through the same thing. So
Yes.
you're not the only one.
Yeah.
So people will definitely be relating to you and wanting to just um be in touch, because some people, say some people love language that they love hugging, but you can't do that right now, right? So
Yeah.
what are the other love languages of, okay, have a conversation or spend that time on video chat just to see each other, whatever it takes. So
Yeah, and the puppies have been selling out, the shelters, the dogs are emptying out of the shelters right now. So hug a puppy.
yeah, yeah, they need love too.
Yeah, you need love too. Got another puppy on the way too. But
Huh?
yay, excited. But yeah, so thank you so much for being here today and celebrating with us for 1 year. Thank you so much for all the support you've given us as we've grown this podcast, and we've gotten even learned how to figure out how to get started. Even today, figured out how to put this technology together so that we're not echoing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Yeah.
It's an honor, and congrats, and please keep going. We need these conversations. We need your expertise. So please keep going.
Oh, thank you so much, Zaakirah. So yeah, listen in to Living Legacy. Check out her book, Seeing Life Through a Different Lens. And check out her website, Zaakirah Nayar, NAYYAR.com, for your freebie on how to build a healthy diet.
I should probably change my name. I like that one better. I named it something else, but I like that one better.
Sorry, did I say it?
No, no,
Huh?
no. Well, I just literally named it like my favorite brands. My favorite brands, natural, all natural brands. I'm just like, yeah, I probably just named it to How to Eat Better. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Zaakirah.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So let me go ahead and we'll pause the